Good morning, guys. My name is Annie. This is my channel for whatever I feel like doing. Recently, I have been reading Embraced by the Light by Betty J Eadie, and I'm going to continue that today. I hope very much that you're enjoying this book. The next few chapters are amazing. The garden. As we went outdoors into the garden, I saw mountains, spectacular valleys, and rivers in the distance. My escorts left me, and I was allowed to proceed alone, perhaps to experience the full beauty of the garden unencumbered by the presence of others. The garden was filled with trees and flowers and plants that somehow made their setting seem inevitable, as if they were meant to be exactly how and where they were. I walked on the grass for a time. It was crisp, cool, and a brilliant green, and it felt alive under my feet. But what filled me with awe in the garden more than anything were the intense colors. We have nothing like them. When light strikes an object here, the light reflects off that object in a certain color. Thousands of shades are possible. Light in the spirit world doesn't necessarily reflect off anything. It comes from within and appears to be a living essence. A million, a billion colors are possible. The flowers, for example, are so vivid and luminescent with color that they don't seem to be solid. Because of each plant's intense aura of light, it is difficult to define where the plant's surface starts and stops. It is obvious that each part of the plant, each microscopic part, is made up of its own intelligence. This is the best word I can use to define it. Every minute part is filled with its own life and can be reorganized with other elements to create anything in existence. The same element that now resides in a flower may later be part of something else and just as alive. It doesn't have a spirit as we do, but it has intelligence and organization and can react to the will of God and other universal laws. All of this is evident as you see creation there, and particularly evident with the flowers. A beautiful river ran through the garden not far from me, and I was immediately drawn to it. I saw that the river was fed by a large cascading waterfall, the purest water, and from there the river fed into a pond. The water dazzled with its clarity and life. Life. That it was in the water too. Each drop from the waterfall had its own intelligence and purpose. A melody of majestic beauty carried from the waterfall and filled the garden, eventually merging with other melodies that I was now only faintly aware of. The music came from the water itself, from its intelligence, and each drop produced its own tone and melody which mingled and interacted with every other sound and strain around it. The water was praising God for its life and joy. The overall effect seemed beyond the ability of any symphony or composer here. In comparison, our best music here would sound like a child playing on a tin drum. We simply don't have the capacity to comprehend the vastness and strength of the music there, let alone begin to create it. As I got closer to the water, the thought came to me that these could possibly be the living waters mentioned in the scriptures, and I wanted to bathe in them. As I approached the water, I noticed a rose near me that seemed to stand out from the other flowers, and I stopped to examine it. Its beauty was breathtaking. Among all the flowers there, none captured me like this one. It was gently swaying to faint music and singing praises to the Lord with sweet tones of its own. I realized that I could actually see it growing. As it developed before my eyes, my spirit was moved, and I wanted to experience its life, to step into it and feel its spirit. As this thought came to me, I seemed to be able to see down into it. It was as though my vision had become microscopic and allowed me to penetrate the rose's deepest parts. But it was much more than a visual experience. I felt the rose's presence around me, as if I were actually inside and part of the flower. I experienced it as if I were the flower. I felt the rose swaying to the music of all the other flowers, and I felt it creating its own music, a melody that perfectly harmonized with the thousands of other roses joining it. I understood that the music in my flower came from its individual part, that its petals produced their own tones, and that each intelligence within that petal was adding to its perfect notes, each working harmoniously for the overall effect, which was joy. My joy was absolutely full again. I felt God in the plant, in me, His love pouring into us. We were all one. I will never forget the rose that I was. That one experience, just a glimmer of the grander joy that is available in the spirit world, in being one with everything else, was so great that I will cherish it forever. The greeting party. Into the garden came a group of spiritual beings. Many were wearing soft pastel gowns, now reflecting, perhaps, the spirit of the location as well as the occasion. They surrounded me, and I felt that they were gathering to celebrate a sort of graduation party for me. I had died, or graduated, as their term seemed to indicate, and they were there to greet me. Their faces were beaming with delight, as though they were looking at a child who had just enjoyed something incredibly delicious for the first time. I realized that I remembered them all from before my earth life, and I ran to them and hugged and kissed each one. My ministering angels, my dear monks, were there again, and I kissed them. As I felt each of their spirits, I realized that they were there to support me. My escorts, who continued to act as my guides, now told me that I had died prematurely, and that this wasn't really a graduation party, but a time to show me what I would receive when I returned at the right time. They were very happy to see me and to support me, but they knew I had to go back. Then they explained to me about death. When we die, my guide says, we experience nothing more than a transition to another state. Our spirit slips from the body and moves to a spiritual realm. If our deaths are traumatic, the spirit quickly leaves the body, sometimes even before death occurs. If a spirit or a person is in an accident or fire, for example, their spirit may be taken from their body before they experience much pain. The body may actually appear still alive for some moments, but the spirit will have already left and be in a state of peace. At the time of death, we are given the choice to remain on this earth until our bodies are buried, or to move on, as I did, to the level to which our spirit had grown. I understood that there are many levels of development, and we will always go to the level where we are most comfortable. Most spirits choose to remain on earth for a short time and comfort their loved ones. Families are subject to much more grief than the departed one. Sometimes the spirits will remain longer if the loved ones are in despair. They remain to help the loved one's spirit heal. I also was told that our prayers can benefit both spiritual beings as well as persons on the earth. If there is reason to fear for a departed person's spirit, if there is a reason to believe their transition may be difficult or unwanted, we can pray for them and enlist spiritual help. They told me that it is important for us to acquire knowledge of the Spirit while we are in the flesh. The more knowledge we acquire here, the further and faster we will progress there. Because of lack of knowledge or belief, some spirits are virtual prisoners of this earth. Some who die as atheists, and those who have bonded to the world through greed, bodily appetites, and other earthly commitments, find it difficult to move on, and they become earthbound. They often lack the faith and power to reach for, or in some cases, even to recognize the energy and light that pulls us towards God. These spirits stay on the earth until they learn to accept the greater power around them and let go of the world. When I was in the black mass before moving towards the light, I felt the presence of such lingering spirits. They reside there as long as they want to in its warmth and love, accepting its healing influence, and eventually they learn to move on to accept the greater warmth and security of God. Of all knowledge, however, there is none more essential than knowing Jesus Christ. I was told that He is the door through which we will all return. He is the only door through which we can return. Whether we learn of Jesus Christ here or while in the Spirit, we must eventually accept Him and surrender to His love. My friends in the garden were full of love as they stood around me, and they realized that I didn't want to go back yet, that I wanted to see more. In their desire to please me, they showed me much more. Many worlds. My memory was open further than before, reaching back beyond the creation of our earth into eternities past. I remembered that God was the creator of many worlds, galaxies, and realms beyond our understanding, and I wanted to see them. As the desire came, my thoughts gave me power, and I drifted away from the garden, escorted this time by two different beings of light, who then became my guides. Our spiritual bodies floated away from my friends and into the blackness of space. Our speed increased, and I felt the exhilaration of flight. I could do whatever I wanted, go wherever I desired, go fast, incredibly fast, or go slow. I love the freedom. I entered the vastness of space and learned that it is not a void. It was full of love and light, the tangible presence of the Spirit of God. I heard a soft, pleasant sound, a distant but comforting sound that made me happy. It was a tone similar to a note of music, but was universal and seemed to fill all the space around me. It was followed by another tone at a different pitch, and soon I noticed something of a melody, a vast cosmic song that soothed and comforted me. The tones produced soft vibrations, and as they touched me, I knew that they possessed the power to heal. I knew that anything touched by these tones would receive the effects of their healing. They were like a spiritual salve, expressions of love that mended broken spirits. I learned from the escorts traveling with me that not all musical tones are healing, that some can create within us negative emotional responses. I understood now that while I was on earth, Satan had used these negative tones in music which actually produced illness in my mind and body. Some of the details that followed have been removed from my memory, but many impressions remain. I seemed to be gone for weeks, even months, visiting the many creations of God. As I traveled, I always felt the comforting presence of God's love. I sensed that I was back in my native environment and was doing only that which was natural. I traveled to many other worlds, earths like our own, but more glorious and always filled with loving, intelligent people. We are all God's children, and He has filled the immensity of space for us. I traveled tremendous distances, knowing that the stars I saw were not visible from Earth. I saw galaxies and traveled to them with ease and almost instantaneous speed, visiting their worlds and meeting more children of our God. All of them are spiritual brothers and sisters, and all of this was a remembering, a reawakening. I knew that I had been to these places before. Much later, when I returned to my mortal body, I felt cheated when I was unable to remember the details of this experience. But with the passage of time, I have learned that I needed this forgetfulness for my own good. If I could remember the glorious and perfect worlds I had seen, I would live in a constantly frustrated life and mar my own God given mission. My feeling of being cheated has given way to a sense of awe and a deep gratitude for the experience. God didn't have to show me other worlds, and He didn't have to let me remember anything about them. In His mercy, though, He has given me much. I saw worlds that our most powerful telescopes could never see, and I love, and I know the love that exists there. Selecting a body. I returned to the garden and met my earlier escorts again. I had seen people progressing in the worlds I had visited, working towards becoming more like our Father, and I was curious about our development on earth. How do we grow? My escorts were pleased with my question, and they took me to a place where many spirits prepared for life on earth. They were mature spirits. I saw no children spirits during my entire experience. I saw how desirous these spirits were of coming to earth. They looked upon life here as a school where they could learn many things and develop the attributes they lacked. I was told that we all desired to come here, that we had actually chosen. Many of our weaknesses and difficult situations in our lives so that we could grow. I also understood that sometimes we were given weaknesses which would be for our own good. The Lord also gives us gifts and talents according to his will. We should never compare our talents or weaknesses to another. We each have what we need. We are unique. Equality of spiritual weaknesses or gifts is not important. The area immediately in front of and below me scrolled back, as if a window were opening, and I saw the earth. I saw both the physical world and the spiritual world. I saw that some of the righteous spirit children of our Father in heaven did not choose to come here to this earth. They had selected to stay as spirits with guide and act as guardian angels for people here. I also understood that there were other types of angels, including a type called warring angels. It was shown to me that their purpose is to do battle for us against Satan and his angels. Although we each have protecting or guardian spirits to assist us, there are times when the warring angels are necessary to protect us, and I understood that they are available to us through prayer. I saw that they are giant men, very muscularly built, with a wonderful countenance about them. They are magnificent spirits. I understood simply by looking at them that to struggle against them would be an act of futility. They were actually dressed like warriors in headdress and armor. I saw that they moved more swiftly than other angels, but perhaps what set them apart more than anything was their aura of confidence. They were absolutely sure of their abilities. Nothing evil could daunt them, and they knew it. As they suddenly rushed off on some mission, which was not revealed to me, I was moved by their looks of concern. They understood the importance of their mission, and they knew, and I knew, that they would not return until it was accomplished. Satan desires to have us, and sometimes when he marshals his forces against one of us, that person will need special protection. All of us are always protected, though, by the fact that Satan cannot read our thoughts. He can, however, read our countenances, which can almost be the same as reading our thoughts. Our auras or countenances display the feelings and emotions of our soul. God sees them, angels see them, and Satan sees them. Even very sensitive people here can see them. We can protect ourselves by controlling our thoughts, by allowing the light of Christ to enter our lives. As we do this, the light of Christ will shine through us and will actually appear in our countenances. As I understood this, I saw again the spirits who had not yet come to earth, and I saw some of them hovering over people in mortality. I saw one male spirit trying to get a mortal man and woman together on earth, his future parents. He was playing Cupid and having a very difficult time. The man and woman seemed to want to go in opposite directions and were unwittingly very uncooperative. This male spirit was coaching them, speaking to them, trying to persuade them to get them together. Other spirits became concerned as they saw his difficulty, and they took up the cause, several of them trying to corral these two young people. I was told that we had bonded together in the spirit world with certain spirit brothers and sisters, those we felt especially close to. My escorts explained that we coveted, covenanted with these spirits to come to earth as family or friends. This spiritual bonding was a result of the love we developed for each other over an eternity of being together. We also chose to come to earth with certain others because of the work we would do together. Some of us wanted to unite in a cause to change certain things on earth, and we could best do it with certain circumstances brought about by selected parents or others. Some of us simply wanted to strengthen a course already set and to pave the way for those who would follow. We understood the influences we would have upon each other in this life and the physical and behavioral attributes we would receive from our families. We were aware of the genetic coding of mortal bodies and the particular physical features we would have. We wanted and needed these. We understood that memories would be contained in the cells of our body. This was an idea that was completely new to me. I learned that all thoughts and experiences in our lives are recorded in our subconscious minds. They are also recorded in our cells, so that not only is each cell imprinted with a genetic coding, it is also imprinted with every experience we have ever had. Further, I understood these memories are passed down through the genetic coding to our children. These memories then account for many of the passed on traits in families, such as addictive tendencies, fears, strengths, and so on. I also learned that we do not have repeated lives on this earth. When we seem to remember a past life, we are actually recalling memories contained in the cells. I saw that we understood all the challenges of our complicated physical makeup, and we are confident in accepting these circumstances. We were also given the spiritual attributes we would need for our missions, many of them specially designed for our needs. Our parents had their own set of spiritual attributes, some of which may have been passed down to us, and we watched how they used these abilities. While maturing, we also acquired other abilities. Now we have our own set of spiritual tools. We can continue to learn how to use these abilities, or we can choose not to use them at all. No matter what our age is, we can continue to acquire new spiritual attributes that can help us in our old or new situations. The choice is always there. I saw that we always have the right attribute to help ourselves, though we may not have recognized it or learned how to use it. We need to look within. We need to trust our abilities. The right spiritual tool is always there for us. After watching the spirits trying to corral these two young people together, my attention turned to other spirits making preparations to go to Earth. One exceptionally brilliant and dynamic spirit was just entering his mother's womb. He had chosen to enter this world mentally handicapped. He was very excited about this opportunity and was aware of the growth he and his parents would achieve. The three of them had bonded with each other and planned for this arrangement long before. He chose to begin his mortal life at his body's conception, and I watched as his spirit move into the womb and enter the newly formed life. He was anxious to feel the great love of his mortal parents. I learned that spirits can choose to enter their mother's body at any stage of her pregnancy. Once there, they immediately begin experiencing mortality. Abortion, I was told, is contrary to that which is natural. The spirit coming into the body feels a sense of rejection and sorrow. It knows that the body was to be his, whether it was conceived out of wedlock or was handicapped or was only strong enough to live a few hours. But the spirit also feels compassion for its mother, knowing that she made a decision based on the knowledge she had. I saw many spirits who would only come to the earth for a short time, living only hours or days after their birth. They were excited as the others, knowing that they had a purpose to fulfill. I understood that their deaths had been appointed before their births, as well all of ours. These spirits did not need the development that would result from longer lives and mortality, and their deaths would provide challenges that would help their parents grow. The grief that comes here is intense but short. After we are united again, all pain is washed away, and only the joy of our growth and togetherness is felt. I was surprised at how many plans and decisions were made for the benefit of others. We were all willing to make sacrifices for others. Everything is done for the growth of the spirit. All experience, all gifts, and weaknesses are designed for this growth. The things of this world matter little to us there, almost not at all. Everything is seen through spiritual eyes. A time was established for each of us to complete our earthly education. Some spirits would come only to be born, to give experience to others, and then pass quickly out of this world. Some would live to an old age to complete their goals and benefit others by allowing them opportunities to serve. Some would come to be our leaders, our followers, our soldiers, or are rich or poor. And the purpose for their coming would be to provide situations and relationships that would allow us to learn to love. All who would be led into our paths would lead us to our ultimate achievement. We were to be tested under challenging conditions to see how we would live the most important commandments of all, to love one another. We are all collectively bonded to each other while on earth, united in this one supreme purpose, to learn to love one another. Before this scene of the pre-earth life spirit was closed up, my attention was drawn to another spirit. She was one of the most charming and delightful beings I had seen yet. She was buoyant with energy and radiated a contagious cheer to all around her. Watching her with wonder, I recognized the feeling of a close bond between us and the love that I knew she felt for me. My memory of this moment has been mostly blocked, but I knew that I would never forget her, and there was no doubt that wherever she went, she was going to be someone's special angel. During this view of premortal existence, I was impressed by the beauty and the glory of each spirit. I knew that I had been there before, that each of us had, and that we had been filled with light and beauty. Then the thought came to me, referring to us all. If you could see yourselves before you were born, you would be amazed at your intelligence and glory. Birth is a sleep and a forgetting. I told you, it's pretty amazing. Like I said, this book has had a beautiful impact. I love this book, and I felt I wanted to share its message with people, because so often we forget. Our real purpose here is to learn and to love each other, and to help each other, and to serve each other. So sometimes everyone needs a reminder. I love you all. God forgives us, and He loves us all. And darn it, I don't mean to be dripping. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I love positive feedback. Anyone that wants to reach out to me, feel free. I'm a very nice person. And God willing, I will read some more tomorrow. Thank you guys. Bye bye.